I think it's a really natural thing for them to obviously feel empathy for Jews, because we really go through every step of what happened to them, and that's a really easy one. But also, we'll be focusing more on the other 11 million people that died in these camps, and it wasn't just Jews. So they're gonna look at that. And lastly, even the German people that a lot of people didn't sign up for that, and some of them didn't have a choice. Like, go do this job and work at this concentration camp, or else, something bad will, or you're intimidated. So I think you can look at empathy from all different levels having to do with the conflict. Mm-hmm. Some are easier than others, but just showing them that there are other groups to think about too. It's tough, but I think they do a pretty good job if you lay it out the right way. Yeah, and I think culturally I grew up. My mom was born in Germany. My mom came over when she was an infant. She was very young, like a year and a half old. And my grandmother, my Oma and Opa came over, and I grew up with them my whole life. So I've always been told, stories of how it was during this time period, and I think it's really affected me to be able to look at it, that not all, especially with the Holocaust, not all Germans were complicit in it, and that it's hard to label a whole group of people, and I like even the terminology. I think it's really important that the kids use the term Nazi Germany to signify this period and what period it was. But at the same time, people do have to be held accountable, because it did go through all the different ranks of society, and everybody was in it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. But as long as you give them all the info and they know that not everybody's bad, and at the same time a lot of people were involved in it, then I think it gives them a clear example of what it really was, and how it was carried out. And I think that's important for them to know as they get older, because you kind of get inundated. There's so much stuff in the Holocaust, and they're gonna keep getting it over and over again. So I think the earlier that you can establish what it really was, then they won't have those preconceptions moving up the line. I think it's really important to get those things out of the way. Yeah. Really better. So big thing. This is where, from this point out, it's not just a contained thing within the Nazi army. This is where Europe gets expanded, where normal German people are brought into the mix. Just like I said, you'd have the average people that couldn't be in the military. They would have been asked from the army to work these camps, especially if they lived by them, and it became like their normal job. Think of your normal job being to work at a concentration camp. Okay. So it's pretty scary.